As gasoline prices rise, what policies do you think are most important to address California's transportation problems, and then how would you pay for them?
I think the most important thing for us is to do exactly what we've been doing for the last 3 years, which is to come up with alternative fuel. For instance, we've been starting to build the hydrogen highway. Since I've come into office, I made it very clear that we can do both, that we can protect our economy, make our economy grow and explode and boom. Everyone has a job, and we create extra revenues and orders. But at the same time, we must always protect our environment. That is absolutely crucial. And this is why we started building the hydrogen highway, building hydrogen fueling stations up and down the state so we are less dependent on fossil fuel. I think that will help us, and we can see now the results because of that. We see now BMW, for instance, has just announced to bring a car in for the year 2007 that is hydrogen fueled. General Motors has gotten in touch with us and said that they're producing cars that are hydrogen fueled. The Japanese, Honda and Toyota, is working on an engine. By 2007 they will have cars in here. So there's all kinds of great things. We are the leaders in the world when it comes to that technology with the hydrogen highway, and that's what we have to do. We have to be less dependent on fuel, because it's inexcusable that people have to pay up to $4 a gallon, even though now it is down, but in the summer it was up almost to $4, and I think that we have to stop that.
Transportation, Treasurer?
Yes, we have to become less dependent on oil, and I do want to say here there's a difference between Governor Schwarzenegger and me. He's taken more oil company money than any politician in America other than George Bush's, which is why he has opposed efforts to make us the world leader in developing clean alternative fuels, to make us assess the oil companies so we can invest in the future, develop clean fuels that clean our air, create jobs, and create the future. I believe we have to do the following. We have to become the world leader in developing clean fuels, because it will clean up our environment. It will create a new wave of hundreds of thousands of high-skill, high-wage jobs for the future. And I'm proud that at our state's pension funds, I led our pension funds to invest $1.5 billion in renewable energy and environmental technology. Secondly, we need a real smart growth plan for California. We're a growing state. We need to grow in a way where people need to commute less, jobs near housing, walkable, transit-oriented neighborhoods. We need a strong land use policy. You're not going to get that from Governor Schwarzenegger, because the building industry is one of his major backers. But finally, let me say this. What we also need to do is balance our budget so we can make investments in transit and roads to build California's future.
Let me add to this transportation thing. What about that high-speed train that has been proposed for so many years? Whichever one of you wants to go first on this certainly may. That train would go from Sacramento to Los Angeles and in 2 hours and 35 minutes. Who thinks what?
I'll speak first.
Go ahead, Governor. Just wanted to say that the legislators, Democrats and Republicans, did an extraordinary job this year by, after I have announced on my State of the State address that we need to rebuild our transportation infrastructure. Both of the parties came together, even though it's election year, which is really a miracle. Both of the parties came together, and we decided to go and commit $20 billion towards the infrastructure of our transportation. And this is like highways, freeways, tunnels, bridges, on-ramps, off-ramps, the whole thing, including mass transit, which is very important. And this will be on the ballot this November, this measure. And I think this will really help, because we have to recognize the fact that this state really hasn't kept up to date with the infrastructure. If it's transportation, if it is building schools, or if it is fixing our dams, our levees, or any of those things, or affordable housing. We have $2.8 billion also for affordable housing, because we talk about building. But transportation infrastructure and building it is very important.
Thank you, Governor.
Let me take an opportunity.
Do.
Very quickly. First of all, it comes back to who can you trust to really make investments in transportation. The first couple of years of Governor Schwarzenegger's administration, he borrowed billions in transportation funds, which slowed up needed projects to patch his budget deficits. Look, we need to balance our budget so we can invest in the future. And I'm an advocate of high-speed rail. I believe we need to provide the funding now to begin to buy rights away and do the engineering, because I believe in the decades ahead we'll be the strongest California, not by competing with Malaysia and Indonesia on the lowest cost wages, lowest cost jobs, but by building the public foundation of transportation and education of our people so we can win the global economic race of the 21st century. And I might say that I was a sponsor of the legislation that created the proposal for high-speed rail.
Well, I might say that neither one of you spent all of your answer talking about the bullet train that I asked about.
I did. I talked about not all of it, but I gave a little to
And
it.
I appreciate
Give me
it.
a couple of points for that one,
You. Now the next
The bottom
question.
line is, Stan, so you know, the legislators have decided not to go with your bullet train, but to go with rebuilding our roads, now freeways and highways, on all of those things, and mass transit in the various different cities, and to put money aside for security on our ports, which is extremely important. That's where the $20 billion will go, and that's the decision that they've made together.
Now let's
balance the budget. We can do more.
And let us move to question number 7 from a real